All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're breaking down a pretty major healthcare announcement, one that's been called one of the most transformative initiatives of all time for tackling the super high cost of prescription drugs in America. So let's get into it.
Okay, so this quote right here, taken straight from the announcement, really sets the stage. It frames the core problem that this new initiative, called TrumpRx, claims it's going to solve.
Right. So before you can even talk about a solution, you got to understand the problem they're trying to solve. And the presentation really laid out the sheer scale of the issue as they see it.
It all starts with this one fact, which they use to highlight what they call a massive imbalance. The US makes up just 4% of the world's population.
And then, bam, they hit you with this number. The claim is that even with only 4% of the people, the U.S. market accounted for a staggering 75% of the profits that pharmaceutical companies made from many of these major drugs.
So what's the takeaway here? The argument is pretty straightforward, that this whole pricing setup meant that people in the US were carrying a huge financial weight, basically helping to pay for cheaper drugs for the rest of the world.
Okay, so they've laid out the problem. Now, what's the fix? Well, they rolled out a two-part solution to tackle it head-on.
And the star of the show, it's this new government website, a tool they claim is going to deliver the largest reduction in prescription drug prices in history. A pretty bold claim.
So a website with huge discounts sounds great, but how? What's the magic behind it? Well, there's a very specific policy that supposedly makes all of this possible. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts. It all comes down to something called Most Favored Nation agreements. The administration says it's negotiated deals so the U.S. will pay no more than the lowest price that any other developed country pays. You can almost think of it like a global price match guarantee. This slide really breaks it down, right? The idea is to completely flip the script. The argument is that the system shifts from a place where the U.S. is paying the most to one where it's promised the absolute best price you can find anywhere on the market.
But wait a minute, you might be asking, why would these giant drug companies or other countries ever agree to this? Well, according to the announcement, they had one big piece of leverage, the threat of tariffs. Essentially, it was an economic pressure play to get everyone to the negotiating table. All right, so that's the policy stuff, but what does this actually look like for you or me? To answer that, the presentation switched gears to a live demo of the website led by Airbnb co-founder Joe Gebbia and Dr. Oz. And they made it sound super simple. It's just 4 steps. You search for your medication, get a digital coupon right there, show that coupon to your pharmacist on your phone or print it out, and you get that new price right at the register. Easy enough. And now we get to the part that probably matters most to a lot of people, the actual price drops. They moved on to show what this all means in the real world with some really specific examples. And I mean, the numbers they put up were pretty wild. For super popular drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, they're talking a drop from over $1,000 down to $199. For a common insulin, from $200 down to just $25. You know, numbers on a chart are one thing, but then they brought on Catherine, a military spouse, to talk about what this means for her family. She talked about the tough road they've had with the high cost of IVF meds and said this initiative could be the difference maker. And it didn't stop at the pharmacy counter. The announcement then connected this whole policy to what they claim is a much, much bigger ripple effect on the entire U.S. economy. They argued this wasn't just about making drugs cheaper. The claim is that the same tariff leverage would push these huge companies to invest hundreds of billions of dollars to bring manufacturing back to the States, creating new jobs and factories here at home. So there you have it. That's the breakdown. They laid out a massive problem, a pretty bold solution, and some really dramatic claims about the impact. What happens next with the Trump RX initiative, and whether we'll all actually see these prices at the pharmacy? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in.